Hey guys, welcome back to Easel Does It Studio Paintings. So we've got another black canvas today, and I've got the border with the tape all the way around it. We're going to do another sunset, but today I'm going to use yellows for the sunset with the silhouetted trees. So what I've got: yellow ochre, lamp black, titanium white, and cadmium yellow on my palette as of right now. If I add anything else, I will let you know. So I'm just going to get this here a little closer. Hopefully you can see it. And I'm just going to wet my brush, and we're gonna just kind of dampen our canvas here. And the one thing with using the black, you can actually, tell that your canvas is wet. Whereas when you're doing a white, it's a little bit more difficult. Now I could have sprayed this, but I've been doing it like this, and I'm finding that it is working better. So if it's working, why change it, right? So it's just basically to get these initial background colors in to the painting. So, and I do have a little bit of burnt sienna too. I don't know if I told you that. So I'm going to pick up the yellow ochre and the bright yellow, the cadmium yellow. And I'm also going to pick up a little bit of that burnt sienna to get some variation here. And more of the yellow ochre is a little too bright. All right, so I'm just gonna get some of this yellow ochre kind of on the sides here. And I'll just kind of smooth everything as we go. We can always add some extra colors too as we go. Just gonna pick up the yellow ochre for now. And then I'll add a little bit of the yellow in throughout. And I'm just, that's way too much light yellow, so we'll add that to the top. Because I do want a hot spot for the sun. I'm just going to add a little bit of the burnt sienna down on the edges here. And then I'll probably add some more to the top to give a little bit more of darkness up in there. And we'll just bring that right through. And now I'll just go back in with the yellow ochre before we start picking up some more of the bright yellow. I'll just call the cadmium yellow the bright yellow. Pick some more of that dark color up. So I haven't quite decided. I think we're gonna have a little bit of a landmass down here, but I haven't completely decided. So I'm going to put that that burnt sienna down through the bottom here. All right, so now I'm just gonna grab some more of that yellow ochre and a little bit of the bright yellow. And I do want to make sure that my, you know, my edges have paint on it. And I need a little bit more of the yellow ochre. Come on. I know there's still some in here. There we go. So let me know if any of you guys watched my live that I did on here. And if you did, would you like to see more lives on this channel? Because nobody commented on the live, so I really don't know if there's, you know, anybody that wants more lives or not. All right, I'm picking up the burnt sienna and the yellow ochre just to get a little bit more warmth going in the sky. So I'm just putting both on my brush at the same time and then just gently pulling through. And just a little bit into this watery area down in here. And then I can go and add that bright yellow over. I just want to have that little bit of kind of variation. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just adding some paint and then going back over it with the that next color. All right, I'm gonna pull a little bit through this area because I want this to come down a little bit further. A little bit beyond the halfway point. And now I'm just going to pick up some bright yellow and blend some up into the, like it's kind of peeking out behind the clouds. Now this is a color palette that I've never really played with. I've done these yellow paintings in oils, but I've never done them in acrylic. So I just figured, you know, why not give it a shot? You know, like we have little bits of that sun just slowly peeking out through. All right, now I'm gonna get some more wet color going in here so that I can start adding more of the yellow. I'm gonna just wet my brush just a little bit, help make that flow. All right, so let's get some of the yellow and bring that down into the water here, because we would you know, we would have a little bit reflecting. It doesn't have to be as bright. You know, because this is basically the reflection on the water. You know, but we would definitely have the yellow streaking through the water. And I'm just lightly brushing over to get rid of the brush marks. I'm picking up some yellow and the burnt sienna, just to blend that in a little bit more. And you just kind of keep going over until you are happy with your coverage and your blending. All right, so a little bit more of that red down in here, because I like my canvas to be covered as much as possible. And just with what's on my brush, I'm just picking up that burnt sienna. And now we'll put some yellow through there, but just kind of blend it in. All right, just add a little bit more on the sides here. All right, so that is looking pretty good. So I'll just clean this brush off. And I'm just gonna go in with just a flat brush, and why I picked up white, I have no clue, guys. So let me get some more yellow ochre, because I didn't mean to pick up white. Not yet. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the burnt sienna. I'm actually liking these colors mixed for a sunset. It gives a totally different vibe. It's not like a bam in your face kind of color, but all right, now I'm just going to try to pick up a little bit of yellow and get a little bit of that sky color, you know, the down into the water. And it's starting to dry, so let me just wet my brush here. Because it definitely works better if your paint underneath is wet. And that's one of the reasons that I like oil paintings, is for the blending factor. Let's just get a little bit more, blend that in. All right, so I think we're gonna stop messing with the background, because I could go on for hours just, you know, playing with the different color themes. So we are going to take a medium size filbert brush, and we're going to put some like little mountains in the background here. Let's see. And I'm just filling that in. And that's a little too perfect, so we're gonna so I definitely want this. All right, we're just gonna make it, instead of trees, we're gonna just make it a mountain. There we go, that looks better. And then let's do another one. a little bit further back. So that will give us a little bit more depth. So now we can get this kind of like the shadow. And that would have worked better had it been dry, but we're just gonna go with it. So by pulling down like this and then kind of going over gives you that little bit of a shadowy look. And we'll just darken this top part back up because that is our actual mountain here. And let's see. And this side is a little bit drier, so this one just gonna let this, we're gonna kind of let this dry here. Let me just wipe what I can off. There we go. I'm gonna take a little bit bigger brush here. Like I said, I've never done like this particular painting in acrylics, so it's just kind of, all right, let me get some more yellow. Now I could have to dry this and start all over. Just blend that back. And now we'll pick up some of that yellow. So I'm just gonna blend that so that it's smooth and I'm not seeing those brush marks. So I'm just wetting my brush is all I'm doing. So we can move some of that paint just a little bit. There we go. All right, dry that off. All right, that looks a little bit better. There's a little bit of lightness to it, but, and then I'll just add some of those colors over on this side so that, you know, they kind of match. Okay. All righty, now, let's see. I definitely want a little bit of that burnt sienna down through this area here. Now, I'm going to pick up trying to get some more yellow ochre out of my tube here because I want a little bit of like wave movement. So I'm going to pick up both of those colors and I'm just going to so I'm starting at an angle, but then I'm like trying to like blend it back so that it is, you know, back going in the same straight lines, because I want these to be like our waves coming in. And I'm just picking up a little bit of the burnt sienna and the yellow ochre. And I'm just like scumbling back and forth. You know, and that way it just kind of brings like so like those waves are going out through. And then I'm going to put like a little bit of dark, and you're going to see here in a minute what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try to make it look like we've got a couple maybe small crashing, starting to break waves. So I'm just getting some darker areas in here. Now, I wasn't even planning on doing this part. This just is like coming in now into my brain. So we're just gonna go with it. So I'm just putting that yellow ochre on the edge of my brush here. Well, we're maybe gonna have to go a little bit lighter. I'm gonna add some of the yellow. And then I'm just gonna slowly scoot a little bit of movement over over the top of some of these darker bits. So I'm picking up more of just some of that I'm just kind of giving like a little bit of an indication that it's coming. It's now I'm looking at it. I got my waves going the wrong way, guys. I got my waves going the wrong way. So this is what you do in that instance. I'm just going to go back and get some dark, and we are going to make these go in the other direction. So, and the reason that I don't edit my videos is so you guys can see that it doesn't always go like the way you want, right? But it's just paint. So you can just like, oh crap, I did that the wrong way. Okay, just go back in, get your darker colors. So I'm gonna just, because that was lighter, I'm adding definitely more of the burnt sienna. But then I'm gonna go back in now and we're gonna put the yellow ochre over the top. But this time I'm going to try to leave some of those darker areas. You know, like this, and maybe even right here, we can just kind of pull these back just a little bit, because, you know, that would be being pulled back into the water. And then we just kind of blend that again. Now we're going to pick up a little bit of yellow because we got to add some of that yellow back. You know, that we kind of, when we had to paint over it. Oh, and that's a little bit bright. We'll just keep blending. All right, so now I've got, all right, I'm gonna wipe that off. Let me get a little bit smaller angled brush here. All right, let's try this. All right, so our crashes are coming this way. So let me wipe that, wet it, and we are gonna take the yellow ochre and the bright yellow. I think I'm gonna try both on my brush at the same time. Because you know how like sometimes there's little areas that are breaking, but they're not full waves. That's kind of like what I'm going for. And you want your brighter areas going over your darker areas, because that's going to give you that, you know, like the shadow like underneath. You know, and then we can actually even go and pick up a little bit of white, and just get a little bit of that foamy, whatever, you know, look that would. All right, I'm gonna go back to the yellow ochre and the bright yellow. Let's get a couple more here. Just crashing every now and then. You know, some areas might be crashing a little bit more than others. And this one's maybe kind of going over the other one a little bit. Yeah, so I suck at doing the big crashing. And to me, they don't look as realistic. I don't know. That's just me. All right, so now we're going to pick up those two colors and just kind of have this kind of being pulled back here a little bit. And that one might be a little bit bigger of a crash. And I'm going to take just a smidge of the white. You know, and then we could actually even maybe put like a little bit of that white underneath, maybe that it's, you know, it's starting to crash down. All right. And then I'm going to take some of the yellow ochre, the yellow, and the white, like all three. And then we're just going to almost like little tiny scoops. So I've just got all three colors just to give a little bit more kind of movement in our water here. And now we're gonna more yellow ochre here, not so bright. I'm gonna pick up some of the darker color too. There we go, that's gonna all right. Okay. So, because I went in a totally different way, now what am I going to add to it here? I do want to add just a little bit of like yellow and white up and through here. And well, I need more yellow here. So, I'm liking the sky. I'm not liking the water. I'm not liking this. So, this is what we're gonna do. We're just going to cover it over. I'm picking up the yellow ochre and that red, and we're just gonna go right over it. Just like this. So I was trying something different, and because it's acrylic, sometimes it's harder to do. So, and it doesn't matter because those areas are gonna end up being a shadow anyhow. I'm gonna put the mountains back, but and I need some more burnt sienna. All right. And let me use this. I got a bronze yellow I've never used, but I'm almost out of the yellow ochre, so I'm gonna try some of this in here. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with the yellow, the brighter yellow. More of the red. Tone that down. Little water on my brush, so we can get that to blend up there at the top. Whoa. Hang on. Oh. Hang on. We got ourselves a runaway brush here. I'm gonna clean that off. Yeah. All right. So let's get some more yellow going in through this area. Yeah. All right. So that looks much better. All right. So I just wet my brush here just a little bit so we can get that blending. There we go. All right. Back to square one. All right, so let's get our mountain back. And I might not even put a shadow in. Just because it doesn't do the same effect with acrylic. So okay. Yeah, that looks better. I was trying to make this so it was going to be a quick video, but you know, when you try different things and you don't like it, you just do it over. Okay, so I'm going to go back in. I'm going to use a little bit bigger brush, and we are going to just turn it so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here. I want a little bit of a landmass right here. All right, I just want that all black. All right, so I'm gonna get a different brush so we can do some, so I'm gonna use my angled brush. And I'm going to add some water to thin that black down because I want this to like really flow. I'm just using the tip, just the very tip, and I'm just kind of pulling upwards. Some water, make that black really, really thin. And then let me see here. Oh, all right. We'll do some palm trees coming out over here. And let's do, no, we're gonna do it right here. All right, guys, here we go. All right, and then let's do, maybe a small one. I'm gonna make that tree trunk a little bit bigger. There we go. And then, let's see, we'll put just a little bit of a landmass right there. And let's put one not quite as big. Yeah, I think we are gonna call that a finished painting. Just get a little bit of just a little something in the background here. All right, so let me sign this. And I'm gonna sign it with the burnt sienna. And then we're gonna take the tape off. Yeah. All right, let's take this tape and see what we get. Hang on, tape is stuck to my fingers. So our next, I think I'm going to do a fairy painting in the next one, but I'm going to do it with the border like this, because I don't know, I just think the border makes it look so much better. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.